Welcome back to Philosophy Brief. My name is Oliver, and today we're discussing Socrates. Socrates is often considered the father of Western philosophy, and in this video we'll explore why that is and what Socrates really did. Socrates, best known for his supporting role in Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure, was an ancient Greek philosopher who lived in the late 400s BCE, about 2,500 years ago. The city where he lived his whole life was called Athens, which is located near modern-day Athens. But Socrates was no ordinary Athenian, no. He was a philosopher. You see, it was common knowledge in Athens at the time that the best people pursued lives replete with money, fame, and fortune. But Socrates rejected this and lived his life in a way that was antithetical to the contemporary conception of the good life. He was poor, ugly, and strange in the eyes of others, who viewed him as a teacher of heresy. But Socrates resented comparisons of himself to teachers because he disagreed with the method of teaching. Similar to our modern idea of learning, teachers would dispense knowledge to their students like water from a pitcher, rather than the method Socrates had in mind. What he wanted was more of a collective geyser of questioning and defending propositions. The participants would pressure the subject, and the outpouring gush of knowledge would be new and benefit everyone. He sought to learn from just about everyone, but because he wasn't a teacher, never wrote anything down. The only reason we know these facts about Socrates now are because of the writings of his students, especially Plato. Plato is another Greek philosopher who we'll talk more about at another time. Let us know if you want to see him next week. He was a student of Socrates who went on to found his own school, out of which came Aristotle. That's right, the three most prominent ancient Greek philosophers were a dynasty of teachers and students. Plato was about 25 when Socrates was executed by Athens, and side note, Socrates was executed for spreading malicious ideas and being impious, things he denied. And at his trial, when asked to provide a potential alternate sentence to death, he said that he should be awarded free meals by the city. This man clearly had a death wish. He wrote Socrates into many of his famous dialogues, including the Republic. That previous story comes from the Apology, which Plato wrote after Socrates' death by drinking hemlock. In the dialogue, Socrates appears to have an attitude of acceptance and even longing for death that he encourages all philosophers to hold, making him similar to the Knight of Faith. Hey, you said no Kierkegaard in this video. I'm sorry, I just can't help myself. You're on thin ice, pal. I'll be watching you. No, but seriously, Kierkegaard is my favorite. Let me know if you want a Kierkegaard video and I will deliver. Alright, we've talked about Socrates the man and what his life was like, but what was his philosophy? Why was he so influential? The three key points I'll discuss are his system, his theology, and his view of the soul. Socrates' system, as mentioned earlier, had to do with collective learning and teaching. It has come to be known as the Socratic Method, and if your English teacher has ever subjected you to a Socratic seminar, now you know who to blame. But seriously, his method outlined the basic principles that modern-day philosophical works follow, those being syllogisms, analogies, and references. A syllogism is a construction of premise-conclusion, often called the logical sentence. An analogy is a comparison to something easily recognizable to illuminate the meaning of an idea. And references to other texts are common throughout the history of philosophy. In fact, one of my favorite books, Against Democracy by Jason Brennan, uses all three of these tools to get its point across. Besides his system, though, Socrates had an interesting theology that differed from his peers. He believed that he was ordained by the god Apollo to educate the people of Athens and to learn from them while rejecting the common mythology of the time. Most of Athens disagreed with him. This is illustrated through the work of Aristophanes in his play The Clouds. Finally, Socrates' view of the soul is fairly unique. It sees the soul as immortal because its flaw, moral wickedness, does not lead to its destruction. In Socratic metaphysics, each object has both a flaw and a perfection. The eye, for example, has the flaw of blindness and the perfection of sight. The perfection of the soul is justice, which we'll talk more about with Plato and the Republic. In conclusion, I'd like to leave you with a few recommendations if you want to start reading this topic. The Apology is a great introduction to Socrates through the eyes of Plato, and The Clouds by Aristophanes shows him as a young man in a classic Greek comedy. If you like this video, please leave a like. If you found it informative or have a correction, let us know in the comments. And if you want to see more, subscribe. This is Philosophy Brief, and we'll see you again soon.